said we can start it now, even though we're waiting on online.
It's working.
Oh, it's working, okay. I'd like to call the Single Family Design Board meeting for November 6th to order. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any item that's not on today's agenda.
Board
Is there-
Member Sherry, apologies for the interruptions. And I know you're going to be chairing our meeting today because Chair Kloss is absent. So our first order of business should be roll call.
Oh,
So we'll move to that quickly.
okay.
Okay, I'll proceed with roll call. Board Member Graffiti,
Here.
Board Member Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry.
Present.
Thank you, we have a quorum.
All right, back to item A, public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, is there any?
Thank you, Board Member Sherry. I will start with in-person comment. Currently, I do not have any slips to speak. However, if you do wish to speak, you can grab a slip on the back lever there. Please fill it out and bring it over to me, and I will be happy to announce you. At this time, I see no one moving to grab a speaker slip, so I will move to virtual comment. Actually, someone might be, so we'll get to that in a moment. But on virtual comment, I do not see any hands raised at this time, and I do not have any formal letters for this particular address. And the one member in the audience, may I have your name, please?
Are you speaking, are you planning to? Okay.
Oh, okay, all right. No problem. Then we do not have any slips, so at this point, I will turn it back over to you, Board Member Sherry.
Thank you. So the item B is approval of the minutes of the Single Family Design Board meeting of October 23rd.
Can we turn these on too?
By the way, I have a question about this. Because I wasn't at attendance, do I abstain from the approval of the minutes and I just review them with them?
Or do we need to open those? Because she did watch the video.
I think you can participate if you
Yeah.
watch the video, and you should be able to vote.
Okay,
and,
good. I did watch the
participate.
video.
And so we can turn these on, but they're not going to show the minutes in front of you. And I'm sorry, you'll notice we have a temporary screen to deal with this, but you can also turn the back wall is probably larger and more annoying to view at this moment. But we'll get these screens. It's not connected to the staff computer, but you'll be able to have them for the plans.
And just a note about, okay, so this is the full board October 23rd draft meeting minutes as staff drafted. And then we received correspondence from Chair Kloss with some suggested edits to these meeting minutes. This is posted online as a memo, and it's under staff reports on our city website. So if we can look through these suggested edits.
I'm okay with that. Let's just start with the first item and then go to the edits. And if anybody else, if you guys want to add anything to that, then we'll give you a chance to do that.
I didn't have anything in addition to the edits, and I did review the edits and the notes prior to the meeting.
Same.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the full board meeting of October 23rd.
Second.
Oh, October.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you second that. Okay.
Do we need a roll call?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
So on to the approval of the consent calendar for
October 9th.
October 9th.
Board Member Sherry, you were present for this consent hearing.
Yes, yes.
Just the one item.
It's just one item, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to, do we do them all separately? Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items for October 9th.
Second?
Great. Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The consent calendar for October 23rd.
So same with these meeting minutes. Chair Colossus was the consent reviewer, and she reviewed ahead of time. We prepared this as a memo, and it's posted under the staff reports. She provided some red line comments or suggested edits to the meeting minutes.
I move to approve the October 23rd consent minutes with Chair Colossus edits.
I'll second that.
We'll do roll call. Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And October 30th was my consent, and I looked up the minutes, and they all look right.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yeah, so I move to approve the consent minutes for October 30th.
I'll second that.
Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
November 6th.
That was me.
Consent was you?
Yep, just one item today. Let me just quickly review these as I haven't seen them yet. No, that's fine. That's fine. I want to make sure there's a. Okay, these look great. So I will move to approve.
Second?
Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any announcements?
Yes, board members. We have Board Member Anderson. She has volunteered to be present for the appeal hearing of 3208 Laurel Canyon. This will be at Planning Commission on December 14th. And we are also seeking a volunteer to attend on that same day an appeal hearing for 101 Santa Cruz Boulevard. So this just came in, so I can coordinate with you all through email and see what works best for everyone's schedule.
And just as a reminder, that's an appeal of a final approval, an SFDB final approval. And we can first check with Board Member Anderson if she's available, because they're scheduled for the same day. So from an efficiency standpoint, we can check with her first. But we might be reaching out to someone else if that doesn't work.
I know I already have a conflict. I live, I believe, within the 500 feet. And I believe this was an item that was reviewed, I think, prior to the board. So I know we can watch the videos and everything, but just wanted to call that out. Okay.
All the more reason to see if Board Member Anderson wants to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any more announcements?
None for me, thank you.
Do any board members have announcements? Nope. Okay, so let's move on to our item number 1 of our general agenda, which is
Board
1240
Member Sherry, if we could just note there's no subcommittee reports.
Oh, okay.
If there are not.
Maybe we should add that to, maybe we should add roll call and subcommittee reports so that, to the general business items? Just a thought.
Okay. It's under B.
Oh, it's not on ours.
I'm sorry. It's
That's
not
all
on
right.
your agenda, but it's part of our thing. I think before there were no SFDB subcommittees, but we recently formed one. And so I don't think we've updated our agenda.
Okay.
So apologies on
That's all
our
right.
misstep on that.
Okay, so no subcommittee reports. Moving on to item number 1, 1240 West Mitchell Trina Street. This is a continued item. And the project was last reviewed on October 23rd. And do we have a copy of the?
Okay, I'm live now.
Speak into the mic. I'll turn it off for now.
Oh, yeah, I did. And I did review. And I was absent at that meeting, and I did review the video and the minutes and the comments. But I do think that we should first review the minutes of that meeting. So,
Do you want to? I
can we
read it
pull-
into the record if you want, but do you want read the project into the record first?
do we have to read the project over again? Okay. So, go ahead.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a continued item for project design approval at 1240 West Mitchell Torena Street. This is a proposal to construct a 2,136 square foot, 3-story single unit residence, including 537 square foot attached 2-car garage on a vacant lot located in the Hillside Design District. Project includes decks at the 2nd and 3rd stories and a roof deck. The building is proposed to be recessed into the hillside with 992 cubic yards of cut grading, such that its floor area is reduced by 50% in the calculation of maximum allowed floor area. The proposed total of 1,341 square feet of floor area on a 6,098 square foot lot is 50% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. 2 zoning modifications were approved by the staff hearing officer to allow construction in the front setback and to construct overheight fences walls within 10 feet of the front lot line. Project design approval is requested. Neighborhood preservation findings and hillside design district and slope lot findings are required. The project was last reviewed October 23rd, 2023.
I'd like to suggest that we let the applicant do the presentation and then review and state all of the motion items from the last agenda one by one, or maybe let the applicant just respond to those motion items, and so we can keep the ball rolling. Does that sound like a good idea?
Could I have a moment for some
Yeah.
staff comments before we
Go
get
ahead,
started?
Tony.
I'm Tony Bauman. I'm the planner assigned to the project. So this is the 4th hearing for this project at the SFDB, and it was continued back here from the staff hearing officer before your last meeting on October 23rd. But the owner contacted staff with concerns about the project, that it didn't move forward after it came back here after the staff hearing officer, and that some more information was being requested that may not be in the purview of single-family design review. So I've been in contact with them, and I helped them try to get their resubmittal ready for today. So there are some other, in addition to the plans, you can access with that computer. There's an earlier photo exhibit that's a pretty comprehensive set of photos of the neighborhood and the adjacent house downhill from the project. And also the applicant submitted a document with a description of how they've responded to your comments. So that might be good to refer to when you're seeing how they responded to the minutes, because they wrote up some responses, and I think we can display that document here. So yeah, there's the photo document. The architect could walk through it. I could probably give you some background on this gray house. Could you go back to the photo? Yeah, so this is that neighboring house. I researched the archive plans for it. So from the bottom of the garage door to the top of the roof is about 30 feet. And it's set back about 11 feet. So the proposed project's it's right at the front lot line, whereas this house is set back about 11 feet, but it goes straight up 3 stories. So that's one difference. The project you're reviewing would be, although the front setback is not where that dirt is alongside the street, the right-of-way line goes quite a bit up into that hillside. But the project's garage door, like I said, would be closer out to the street, and then the project steps back as you go up 2nd and 3rd stories. And it's about 28 feet tall. But it's not, the main point I wanted to make with this is it's not necessarily a like-for-like comparison. The sites are not the same. The subject lot is much steeper. The lot with the gray house, it is steeply sloped, but it's nowhere near as steep as the subject lot. And also, it's a very deep lot that goes back about more than 250 feet. It's a very narrow, very deep lot that goes up the hill more gradually. And if the applicant could run through some of the photos, you could see that better, what I'm describing, with the difference in the lots. And otherwise, I'm just here for questions.
Thank you, Tony. So you can start your presentation, and you are?
I am. Thanks. And I have my mic on. I'm Eddie Osuch. I'm with the design firm, Neon Associates. I represent the client, Shannon. We've been going back and forth with Tony with all his help on this, and we took in consideration everything that came from the last meeting. And let's go through the items one by one.
So it looks like the third tab on here had those items, if you don't mind pulling that up so we can
Yes.
read it on our screen.
Oh, yeah, let's just go through that.
Oh, the third tab, I think.
Third tab, thank you. All right. So this first one is the streetscape study, comparing this building versus the building adjacent that's 30 feet tall. We are not as tall as that building. The part on the elevation that you do see that looks a little bit taller is actually the retaining wall that we have to put in there anyway to keep the dirt off the roof. And that's where the upper deck happens. So we provided everything in this submission. And right here you see the difference in grade from both properties is 11 feet. And that's because of the natural slope of the hill. And both of the properties were at 3 levels, and which is like Tony had mentioned that theirs is at 30 feet and we're a little bit below that. They have a 7-foot retaining wall that was higher than the property on the west, and that's the one we're talking about. That's the one in the back, which is required. So let's take a look at. Do you want to do the list first, or do you want me to keep showing you drawings?
Yeah, you can go back
Okay.
and forth. So now we can
Okay.
go to your
Yeah,
exhibits.
okay. So if we go to the plans, here is 1.6. Zoom in a little bit more and go down a little bit. Here's our building, our home, and here's the 30-foot structure next door. And you can see we at the 3 levels at the street. So this board form that you see back here is actually set back from the street. And this structure you see here is actually retaining wall. All that's up here program-wise is access from below. So that's the initial one of that. And you might be able to even see this better on... You can see it a little bit on this sheet as well, now that it's colored in. But the other one is the comparison that they were looking for. So I'll go back a page, and zoom in. And you can also see that the road goes up significantly between us and the adjacent house. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, I'll get these right eventually. Updated colors and materials board. We've provided and executed in this submission A1.8 and 1.7, but the best representation can be found on A1.8. That's the actual. We actually have the sample of the material on the board. The rendering and the cover sheet. It doesn't give a true representation of it, so the true colors are actually on 1.8. So let me go back. New plans, 1.8.
My set that I downloaded appeared to be missing 1.8.
You were the most important person to get it, too.
Oh, it's just out of order. I see.
Yeah, it's near the front.
Thank you. Okay.
So we've gotten more concise about all of our building materials. You can see that the planter stone, we're using it's a manufactured stone from El Dorado. It's more in a gray tone. We're trying to bring down the overall pop of the whole building and bring in more tans. And you can see with our other pieces here, we have this plank siding that's called cobblestone, and so we've moved away from pure white everywhere. And we also, we have the example of the wood siding, which is actually a metal, but it looks exactly like wood. I'm just concerned about a lot of moisture. And you can see some of the other materials there's another paint material for the retaining wall for the sides. That's almost like a hunter green, but it's Secret Garden. Gotta admit, being able to name colors is a great job. But you see the wood siding on the right from Longboard, and down before we were going with an Anderson door. And let's just go to the bottom here, and we're going with this darker toned garage door that doesn't pop out as much. And we're also looking at, there's the Milgard window and trim on the bottom, basically a black and white kind of scenario. And we also addressed, one of the things that keeps coming up is the handrail. We've gone with a cable rail. We really want the massing of the whole house to disappear as much as possible. So we've incorporated that as well. And we don't want a lot of reflection. So those are the items. So that was, where's that's old plans? This. Okay. Number 3, more neutral colors. You can see in the current submission about the neutral colors. It's on those sheets 8 and 7, 1.8, 1.7. A mass to the located, this part is also shown on 8.7. The mass to the left of the garage, located below the master, we're putting, let's look at that colored elevation because that defines it the best. Right here, let's zoom in. Zoom in again. You can see we're putting a long board on it. This one's the Hardy board. This is the one that's a tan kind of tone. So as the building goes back further into the hill, it just keeps getting a little bit darker. Okay, and then, sorry. I'll get this clicking around. Okay, the mass to the left of the garage. And then number 5, to study the master bedroom mass on the 2nd and 3rd floors. We went ahead and it's updated on the material board. And we decided to go with this changing of the color on there as well. We went through different options. We didn't want it to poke out as much. And it's your color darker than the main body of the residence, and it's intentional and it goes with our design intent. You know, we're creating a visual effect that this particular mass recedes further, keeps going away. And we believe the approach enhances aesthetics and harmony, looking for harmony. And that's pretty much for that one. And then, okay, and then number 6. The board form concrete is actually to the left of the garage. You can see in the materials here. We're going with the Hardy plank here. But for the planters, we're going with that stone. Okay. And then, I always get confused between here. And the roof deck also has the wood in front of it, so it can recede back. And it's also set back from the street as well. So even though in this particular elevation, you can see the roof deck here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Hardy plank. This is actually set back and would be very hard to see in person. I don't know how to say it. It's set back and it's so high up. It's a very difficult angle to see. You can see that actually on our cover sheet. Go all the way to the top here. You can see, you don't even see that might be the upper edge of it hitting sunlight. And I still don't think we're fully at person scale. Maybe so. And then, oh, sorry. Let's go back to the list. We added wall climbers on all the retaining walls. And we added, it's been referenced in our Flora legend on 1.3, and the rendering's been updated. So there's a lot more growth on the sides. This, number 9, the project massing was already approved. And after looking into this, it would require so much extra effort and removing additional dirt to have side patios. And it would also expose more retaining walls to the street. So you can see here with the further excavation. So that particular one would cause a lot of hardship. And also, we've already been approved for this massing, for the way it is now. Okay. And number 10, we heard the board for the third floor window. Neighbor was concerned about the size of it overall, and you can actually see here in the old plans, the size of that window in the master. It's this one right here. And you can see in the new plans, it's been significantly reduced. It's 3 by 8, whereas before I think we had almost 6 by 8. Okay, and that was number 10. I'm already to 11. Existing section through the residence to include the street public right-of-way. And this one is on A1.6. So let me talk to you about this one. Come on, 1.6. You can see the section cut here. Let's see if this actually works in here. Hey, it does. Nice. So we put together this street cut to show, you can see how that part of the retaining wall is pushed all the way back, and it is necessary to have it to hold back the rest of the hill. So that is the only open space for my client to be outside and enjoy the outside. And you can see these angles here that we've added, so you can see the line of sight. So even from this standing at these different points, we're also looking, we can see a little bit into this person's backyard, but on that point, that is a corner lot. That we're looking essentially at the side. That's basically where it is. Let me show you in reference to the site. I think it's back. Let me go back to, I think it's in, you can see it here. One more page. There it is. We're angled so that we are in line with their backyard, and you can see that this lot is actually a corner lot. So we're not the only ones that can see there. I mean, this one is a little bit hidden. They can see a little bit. This owner has a fence, but it's a corner lot. So we've minimized the window on that side to help accommodate, and we've shown the study. Okay.
I'm Shannon Watson. Thank you for
Sorry to
joining us.
interrupt, just one moment. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
I'm Shannon Watson, the owner. Thank you for joining the sightlines. That's very beautiful and powerful to see that simple hedge would block what minimal sliver there is. Thank you.
And so that's this one. And let's go back to number 12. There was a request for an arborist report, and Tony has covered this a couple times, that there was a previous one put together, and we're going by the results from that particular report. We're going to plant 100 saplings throughout the site. And that was pretty much it for this one. So that'll be part of our condition of approval list, and that's at the end of the, final pulling for permits. So that's it, pretty much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, was there anything else, Tony?
Just that there are quite a few more photos if you needed to see relationships between the houses and that sort of thing in that same photo set.
Do you want to run through those really quickly?
Sure. Okay.
You're out of time, but just since it
I
was.
just want to make sure I hit all the 11 items.
Yeah.
You can see how the site is tucked in and is up and away from the rest of the street. And then you can see it's on the hook of the whole street at the very end. I didn't even notice that when you walk up to it, like even this one is taken from a higher elevation, like this had to have been taken from a drone because you can see the level of the street here. This is further away. You can see how it's back in there. This is from up above. And you can see on this one the severity of the slope, and then cutting in any direction would be difficult. This was an older site. So here, you can see it here, where we're basically directly across from the backyard of this neighbor. That was a previous one. We've earthed it up more. And here's some other houses in the neighborhood. This is coming up the street. You can see here that you cannot even see the site just from a little bit down the street. These are some of the other residences that, as you go down the street, this is looking up at the site. And this is actually at the top. There's kind of a top pad up there. And you can see this is actually looking down from above. And that's it.
Thank you. All right. Public comment.
Yes, thank you. Board Member Sherry. We will do public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips. However, if anyone is interested in making a public comment, please fill out a slip toward the back door and bring it to me. I will be happy to announce you. I do not see anyone making a movement, so I will go on to a virtual comment. I do not, actually, I do have a hand raised. One moment, please. We have Elizabeth Russell who would like to make public comment. Ms. Russell, you have 2 minutes to make your comment.
Hi, thank you. I hope you can hear me now. Again, we are the home on the corner lot, which that corner lot is actually our backyard. Just want to re-express some of our concerns, particularly about privacy. We appreciate that you did that sightline study. However, we just want to kind of draw attention to some of those angles because we know in the yard we would be looking directly at those balconies and that rooftop deck, maybe not fully back on the rooftop deck. So we do believe that there would still be sightlines directly into what we have as our backyard patio. Also, it's not accurate. We don't actually have, the other neighbors cannot see into our yard. So I just want to reiterate our concern about privacy. I appreciate all the work you're doing with this design. It is a lovely design. We just, again, want our privacy of our backyard, the place where we gather and entertain, that is also considered and appreciated. So thank you.
May I comment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any more public comment? Virtual?
Actually, no, I do not see any further hands raised virtually, and we did not receive any letters for this particular project. So at this time, I will turn it back over to you, Board Member Sherry.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Anyone? No questions? No questions. I have just a few. So no board form concrete?
No.
Okay. What's the climbing wall material that you are adding?
Oh, I forget the name of the plant. It's in here.
Creeping fig or
Yeah,
something like that?
it's something here. I think we actually show it.
It's a type of rosemary, I think it says.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a trailing vine, so it's a rosemary that trails.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
That's fine.
I think that's what was in there last time. Was there something new added?
No, we added more of it and put it on the sidewalls as well. Provided for it to
Okay.
really grow.
So nothing's climbing up the walls, it's just trailing down.
It's trailing down but it has lots of opportunity.
And, climbing. And this is more of a question for everybody if they remember it. I couldn't remember whether it was a suggestion to reduce the master bedroom size and you did it, or was it study the size of the master bedroom window and decide what the appropriate size is?
I
think it was a statement by Board Chair by Board Member, Chair Collas, to reduce the size, pulling it off the corner.
Off the corner.
Right, not necessarily, and to study if it needed to be reduced in height.
Okay.
and we reduced it.
Right.
And then one question that I could not ask the public speaker, but does the neighbor have any hedges to give themselves privacy?
Not currently, and the neighbor is more than 50 or more than 40 feet away from this property, and the backyard's even further.
Okay, I couldn't remember that, okay.
And if I may just add, so I was the staff hearing officer, so I approved the modifications for this project. Ellen Cokinda, I'm also the design review supervisor, but I just want to say that there is an existing fence that the neighbor across the way has, but no hedging is.
How
board
high
member
is the
Lewis.
fence? Probably 42 inches, because
I might add, there's a couple of photos in that set that shows it pretty well, and the fence is probably not tall enough, given the angle that this house would be looking down at the neighbor. Maybe they
Can't really
could
see it on this
plant a tree or
Yeah, I was
two.
thinking of, yeah.
Even a hedge probably wouldn't be high enough, but a
Oh,
tree
here.
canopy might help.
Yeah,
Are there zoning?
there's some,
What's the
brand.
zone?
Okay, good.
That's an appropriate question.
Okay. So there is some privacy that the neighbor has created for themselves,
Of
was my
course.
question. Okay, that's all my questions. Comments?
I'll start with comments. I want to say thank you so much for all the work on this property. It's a very unique site with a lot of building limitations, and I think our asks were trying to make sure that we could defend with the neighborhood preservation findings, and I think with all of the changes, we would be able to, definitely. I think, part of the difficulty on this site is the requirement of building up, but also needing to not be too large with size, bulk, and scale, which is one of the main things that we're deemed to review. And I think having that comparison with a neighbor helps a lot, that the visible height of the home is the same height as the neighbor. The site does go down, and I think the changes in the color, the changes in trying to make sure the retaining walls and landscape on this side really fill it in so it's not added bulk. I think they all help. I still wouldn't be opposed to the top balcony railing being a little bit darker to recede, but I agree that what we're seeing in the rendering even shows more probably than you'll be able to see from the street. You really will be quite close to it. I think all the changes in material add a nice warmth to it. There's not too many modern properties in this area, but I think that the changes in material really help to bring it into the landscape and blend in well with the other neighbors. So I just want to applaud you for all the work. And from a privacy concern, I think to an extent, you have a property, you're allowed to build on your property. We're making sure that it's not an undue overarching, privacy concern, but you're allowed to look out your windows, and that is your only view on that property. And I think you're at a strong distance, and even once you go up to the second floor, third floor, you're at such a distance that you would need binoculars, to be really studying the neighbors, in my opinion. So it's a condition of the site more so. I don't see a way around that, in my opinion. And I'm not concerned about the changing of trees. Again, it's such an odd site. I think you've made the necessary requirements for that. Right.
Thank you, Board Member Lewis.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Board Member Lewis as well. I know it can be frustrating because we've asked a lot, you've been here a lot. The reason is, again, it's a really unique site and property, and we have findings that we have to make at the end of the day to make sure that we can grant approval. Really, really appreciate you making changes to the material board. I do think it will blend a lot better with the hillside, all the additional plantings over the retaining walls. And so, and agree, I mean, it's always a challenge to have privacy concerns, but I think, to some degree, it probably in any design would still be there. And so I think for me today, I find, the project is acceptable and would be able to move forward with PDA.
All right. I agree with the rest of the board members, and you are allowed to look out your windows, and it is the only direction you can look. And while I hear the neighbors, that's why I was asking whether they had hedges and fences, because then they could maybe add more to theirs, if they should choose to do that. The reason I asked that question about the comment about whether it was a suggestion for the master bedroom windows, because it seems, now it almost seems too high, and I hate to say that, but it just, I don't even know if it meets egress requirements. It looks like it might marginally meet egress requirements. It looks, I would support going a little lower, because when you're in your bedroom and you're kind of looking out the window, you want to see the sky and you want to see the view. So that doesn't need to go in the minutes, but I'll bet you have support for.
Yeah, no, I think we can write that, though, that if you come back for any changes later, I would support height increase, bringing it lower.
Yeah, the sill.
The sill lower. I think the intent of the comment last meeting was to create some solid surface kind of space around on the top and the side. But I do think that there's room. Right. You've done it very well.
And then my only other comment was about that light fixture that you had in it. And it's a technicality. You might want to check whether it's dark sky compliant. 'Cause
okay.
I don't think
Of course.
it is.
Okay.
Even just because it has a cap on it. I think they just note to self.
Okay.
So would anybody like to make?
I'll make a motion. Let me get my handy cheat sheet. Okay. I move to approve this project for project design approval with the following neighborhood preservation findings. The project is consistent in appearance, in size, bulk, and scale for the neighborhood. It will enhance the neighborhood. Let me look at this one instead. Especially going from a vacant lot on the edge to a very well-designed home. It's compatible in size, bulk, and scale with the neighborhood, especially to its immediate neighborhood, in visible size from the street. It has quality architecture in materials. Oh, actually, let me go back for item B. I want to add for the size, bulk, and scale that the color and materials help to reduce the overall massing in appearance, and the landscape coming in on the edges help this as well. For item C, the quality architecture and material, the proposed home is designed with quality materials, bringing in natural colors that help blend into the hillside and help maintain the appearance of the natural sloped lot. The project does include removal of trees, but they are in providing a significant replanting of landscape as well. The public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. The project generally complies with the Good Neighbor guidelines regarding privacy, landscape, noise, and lighting. The neighbor has done the best in reducing overall fenestrations on the front elevation, and stepped back patios for privacy. The development, including proposed structures and grading, preserve the significant public scenic views of and from the hillside. It's designed maintaining the slope of the hillside as best as possible. Oh, which is really this item. Sorry, you can slide that one over. So the development, including the proposed structures and grading, is appropriate to the site, and it's designed to avoid visible scarring and does not significantly modify the topography. The home is set back and helps maintain the original, what's the word? Stark slope of the property. The building scale, it maintains a scale that blends into the hillside. Again, the colors and materials help to minimize the overall structure's scale, as well as stepping back at higher stories.
Do I have a second for the motion?
I'll second that motion.
All right, roll call.
Roll call. Board Member,
Pardon my interruption. Can we receive some clarification if it would be appropriate to send the project to consent for final approval?
I'm okay. Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
And I guess one question is whether or not, I think, I've got my answer, but I think whether there's any specific direction, because unfortunately, this item wasn't agendized for final approval, but if there's any additional information that you would like to see for final approval, they've provided a lot of details. So I don't know if we can administratively approve it, but if you could make a comment of, just to say that this is ready for final approval if you see fit, and if there's any other additional direction, because
Yeah, just that comment.
Okay. I think the board finds this project ready for final approval. We are open to seeing adjustments in the primary bedroom window and the overall height. If we're for the sill being lowered, do we need to get them to?
I would just say the board is open to a slight reduction in the sill height of the master bedroom window if the applicant feels it's appropriate. Applicant and owner feel it's appropriate.
I support that.
So,
Anything else?
And I was just going to say to confirm night sky compliant lighting.
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
So I approve those modifications to the motion.
And it will go back to consent, right? Okay.
okay, so we will do roll call. Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Sherry,
Yes.
motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Board Member Sherry, if you could announce the appeal period.
There's a 10-day appeal period for this project, and do you want me to read the whole thing?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So onward to item number 2, 425 Allen Road. This is a new project. Can I go ahead and start reading the?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a proposal to construct a detached 1,000 square foot, two-story accessory dwelling unit with a 57 square foot covered entry, a 215 square foot covered porch, and an 184 square foot uncovered balcony in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the county's coastal zone. Planning Commission review and approval of a coastal development permit and condition amendment is required. The existing single-family residence and attached garage will remain on site. The proposed total of 3,500 square feet of development on a 14,601 square foot lot is 81% of the maximum floor to lot area ratio. Good afternoon. Your names for the record, please.
Kate Svensson, designer for the project.
Chris Gilliland, landscape architect.
Trish Allen with SEPS. Hi.
All right.
Just go to the second page. Start with the second part.
I think Pilar's going to start.
Okay.
Okay. How do we bring that up?
Thank you. I'm Pilar Plummer, Associate Planner with the City of Santa Barbara. And yes, I'll just give a few brief staff comments. So this project was previously reviewed as a one-time pre-application consultation before the Single Family Design Board and did receive comments. So we do have those minutes from that meeting, which we should go through as part of the presentation. As mentioned in the project description, this project involves an accessory dwelling unit and will require a coastal development permit to be approved by the Planning Commission. In addition, there are conditions placed on this property, so the applicant is requesting a condition amendment to allow for the ADU as well as for the location to be between the street and the 40-foot contour line. That concludes my comments. I'll be here if there's any questions.
Thank you.
I am going to
Do we
say
need a
something
quorum?
really
Are you
quick.
going to go,
Yeah,
who's
go
going to
ahead.
go over the SFDB comments? Staff or applicant? The previous comments.
May I, Madam Chair? We have gone through, there's quite a few comments. As you know, as part of the one-time concept review, each board member's comments are recorded in the minutes. So you see 1 through 12 on the screen.
I guess what I meant was aesthetic comments would be the ones that would be, unless we're supposed to review all of them, which I would assume no, because they're not our purview.
Well, just wrapping up, I won't take a bunch of time. So there are some that are a little bit redundant, repetitive, or whatever, and so our presentation is set up to kind of categorize these and go through them, rather than take the time to read through them. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say, if that helps you, Kate.
Yeah, so without reading through them?
So I don't think so. I think you should just start your
No.
presentation and
If your presentation incorporates them, then that's even
I'll
better.
just mention the ones that were things that were commented on, and I'll just see how we address them. So since this is a new board and you guys are not familiar with this project, I'm just going to quickly summarize the totality of this proposal and then go over the comments kind of in on order.
Do we need a quorum?
We have a quorum.
This is? Oh, 3.
Okay.
Okay.
We would not be
Well,
here
short.
if it were not. Barely.
Yeah.
So this is a proposal for a two-story detached ADU. The main house is a single-story Spanish-style residence that's placed close to Allen Road on, oh, thank you. Can you for a second go back to the site plan? Sorry. And then look,
sorry.
yeah. That's placed close to Allen Road, and it's backing into a very steep slope, big portion of which is above 30% slope. So we have a very small development envelope outside of that area for us to place the ADU. The owner's objective in this case is to create separate living quarters for himself. He's not planning to rent this ADU out. He has a family member who is handicapped, and the idea is to move in the families into the main residence, which already is equipped with handicapped features, and provide the owner with secondary detached living quarters with a close proximity to the main house so he can take care of his family member. So the program for the ADU is heavily tailored to the client's needs in order for him to live in this property. So our original proposal at the previous hearing was for 1,200 square foot ADU, and we asked for a zoning modification to allow for additional 200 square feet. Since then, we received comments about reducing the square footage of the residence and the FAR, and we have reduced it to 1,000 square feet, and we're no longer asking for a zoning mod on this project. And as well as that, we had some comments regarding some styles of roof and some windows and doors, and we have addressed them in this proposal before you, so you can see how this got changed. So it's still a two-story ADU with living and kitchen space on the lower level and sleeping quarters on the second floor. As I mentioned, the unique situation of this is the area where we can place this ADU is pretty well defined, and the rotation of ADU, which was one of the comments from the previous board's hearing, is also derivative of the building envelope outside of 30% area slope. So for us to exceed anything than 600 square feet, we have to go to two-story ADU. There's no way for us to even get to 800 square feet within this envelope without going two-story. And the rotation of the structure is, other than the building envelope situation, is also derived by the lines of topography. And for us to reduce excessive grading and retaining, we basically try to follow the topography lines to tuck the structure into the slope and reduce the amount of impact on the property and also the outside neighbors. So we followed the Hillside District guidelines, tuck the ADU into the slope to minimize the overall impact. If you go to the floor plan, please. No, floor plan. Okay. So
Zoom out.
it's okay, lower, like it's the lower level. Yeah, so on the lower level, you will see we have a kitchen, one full bath, and a laundry and storage facility. Since the previous hearing, we've removed the interior access. We had an interior staircase previously, so we removed it to achieve the square footage reduction, and the owner chose to invest into the elevator to kind of minimize the square footage, but also to have that option for his handicapped family member to be able to visit this if need be. We had a comment about the front door style. We've changed it since then to different arc to match the style of the main residence. So essentially, the entire ADU is following all the style and window styles and door styles and quality materials that the owner is used on his main residence. So it's kind of like picking up on all of the color schemes and details of the main residence. The glazing on this lower, you can see on the lower level, there's no glazing on the rear side. Almost the entire back side of the house is completely underground. And the windows and doors we have are facing the homeowner's main residence right now. On the second floor, we now have a reduced main bedroom. We also shrunk the size of the bathroom, and we significantly shrunk the size of the guest bedroom, which is now could be used maybe as an office because we lost the closet and a full bathroom on this level. So you can see on the lower left corner of this floor plan where you see the balcony, all that square footage was lost. We had previously a full bath and a walk-in closet proposed. So now that chunk of the structure has been taken out of the whole building. We had a comment about reducing the size of the balcony facing south, so facing the left side page, and we've done it and moved the entire house 1 foot 6 inches to the absolute northern edge of our buildable envelope to provide even more separation from the south neighbor. It's important to say the south neighbor has a really large property. Their main house is in the very, very far south side of their property, and there's a 14, 15-foot driveway separating the parcels along the south property line. The roof plan, can you go on the roof plan? We had a very simplified design for the roofs before, so we played with the roof layout a little bit and to make it a little bit more interesting. Moved some windows and doors around for better symmetry on the exterior elevations, and we had a comment about the chimney being too intrusive, so we removed the chimney on the inside of the structure completely. There was a comment about reducing the slope pitch on the roofs. We decided not to do that. The current residence, the main residence, has 4 and 12 slope. They're using two-piece Spanish tile. The minimum slope for two-piece Spanish tile is 3 and 12. So we're trying to follow basically the same design as the main residence. And if you go to the to the next section, to the section, site section.
Oh, that's one.
Maybe it's up, yeah.
This one?
If you zoom into the roof, please. Oh. Can you zoom
That's
into the
that.
roof, to this area?
Okay. Ooh,
Ooh,
fancy.
left,
I don't know, how to get rid
left.
of that. Yep.
No, this thing.
No, I know. How do you get rid of that box? Anybody?
Oh.
There we go. Click away.
So you see a small dashed line under the roof. It says line of 3 and 12 slope, top of ridge. Would be the overall reduction in height of the building if we'd gotten to 3 and 12 slope instead of 4 and 12, which is just 8 inches. And I think that height is completely unperceivable. For us, it actually makes a lot more sense to use that space for FAU unit and access to the attic, and it's much more usable to the homeowner than 8-inch reduction in the overall height of the structure. You can also see that the rear of the building has no penetrations whatsoever. Facing the structure on the left you see is the 23 Wade Court, which is the structure up the hill and the closest residence to this proposed development. So there's no fenestration for privacy, and the only opening we have is the escape route door outside of the elevator leading to the retaining ground and then leading to the main patio below. If you zoom out, please, thank you. So this exhibit also shows you kind of the line of sight that 23 Wade Court has currently on the main house of our client. Vast majority of his entire property is completely visible from the second floor windows of 23 Wade Court. Big reason for him investing into this construction was to regain a little bit of privacy in his main house, because currently he's unable to even open the curtains and enjoy his home because of huge privacy concerns. So I think this kind of gives you an idea of what this ADU does for his quality of life and the privacy concerns that he has. And then, of course, on the back side, Chris will talk about, all the landscaping proposed to provide the closest neighbor with some better look than a full wall of no windows. Our FAR has been reduced from 86% to 81% now since we've lost 200 square feet. We're far below our height line, and we moved the structure to the furthest point per the board's request. The homeowner has been really responsive to all the board's comments and concerns and addressed every single one of them. So I hope that you guys like it.
Okay. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, so for the landscape portion, fairly simple. The big idea here was privacy, of course, so basically all the way around along the property lines we have loose native hedging up 6 or 8 feet or so, but we want to talk to these neighbors about if they want that to grow higher for their own privacy. These plants will allow that, otherwise they have to be kept at a certain height. The placement, we added 3 new trees, this being an arbutus marina, and the idea there was to provide privacy between the properties for the outdoor terraces. Same goes for this one, which we're looking at, maybe a jacaranda, just to kind of, again, help with also grounding the structure into the site. And then over here, an olive. And beyond that, we also, currently these existing walls, this white portion right here on both sides, is very tall, 6 to 7 feet, I think. So we're also planning to push that back and terrace that out a little bit more so it steps down the hill rather than be just, kind of right there at the back of the house, and provide a little bit more, usability and ability for light to get in, and we'll cascade plants over those walls to help soften it all. But really, adding the parking area here is new. I think we need to add a few more steps in here. We didn't have the finished floor at the time, but basically just access up, very simple. Try to keep as much permeable as possible. So we have, permeable pavers for some of these areas, and we'll keep that, maximize the permeability. And succulents, Mediterranean plantings, some color. That's about it for our conceptual landscape.
Just while Sean is talking, let's move up to the photo page so that the board has some
This one or that
reference. Yeah, reference about that site.
Is that, oh, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Sean Sharizzi. I am the applicant. Prior to this application, as was mentioned, in consideration of all my neighbors and the best interest of the city, I did submit a pre-approval application in order to get feedback so that I can be in compliance with the city's regulations and my neighbors' concerns. This wasn't free. It was at an additional cost. There was a submittal fee. There was time for the planner, for the architect, my time. But again, I wanted to be sensitive to my neighbors and the city's regulations before I proceed with this project. I very much appreciated the board's feedback at the last hearing and asked my architect and planner to address every single point as they just did that was brought up in that meeting. This did result in me giving up almost 20% of the total square footage and losing one bathroom and additional storage space and closets. So I did want to thank the board for the constructive pointers and the consideration for the neighborhood as a whole. One big thing I want to mention that has severely impacted my life is I do want to mention I wish the previous board that reviewed the proposal for 23 Wade Court had had the same level of consideration that you're holding up for my neighbors, for me. For the past 4 years since this house was built, I have been traumatized, me and my family, by this structure that is built on top of my house at 23 Wade Court. I am not just talking about complete obstruction of all my views, which were very minimal to begin with. The only view I had from my master bedroom was a tiny glimpse of the sky, which is completely gone. But all my windows facing up north, any view I had of the sky, as soon as I open my shades, that is all I see, just towering over me. I don't dare open my master bedroom with the blinds, nor any of my other room window blinds facing 23 Wade Court, as it just towers over my site with extensive glazing, and they have complete line of sight into most of my house, as you just saw in the exhibit that was shown. This development has resulted in complete invasion and violation of my life and my privacy, me and my family. I don't ever feel comfortable in my own backyard, knowing that they can see and hear everything I'm doing and saying every day, all the time. Again, me and my family. Those blue mailing notification cards that are sent out, unfortunately, in the case of 23 Wade Court, not just in my case, but all the neighbors that I've talked to, it failed. Nobody ever got one. And by the time I found out about the development, they had already broken ground and it was too late to do anything about it. Furthermore, I was approached by my neighbor, Julie. I don't know if she's here or not, but she was at the last meeting. And she felt exactly the same way about 23 Wade Court. She said the only reason she was coming to the meeting was she didn't want this to turn into another Wade Court. And I said, no, it won't. It's nothing even close, and it won't. Me building this ADU is my only chance at regaining a little bit of privacy and quality of life for me and for my family. So I really hope you can see and understand my situation and what has happened to me, and take this into consideration when reviewing this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is that the end of your presentation, Kate? Okay, public comment.
Yes, thank you. Board Member Sherry, I will at this time start in-person public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, please fill out a slip and hand it to me, and we will be able to hear your comment at this time. I don't see anyone making a move toward the podium. Oh, yep, they are. Okay.
Here's the other one. I can go first.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Okay, we will have up first.
Hi,
Is it
I'm
Ara Harris?
Era Harris.
Era Harris, who will be speaking. Era, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, Era Harris at 415 Allen Road. I'm adjacent to the applicant. Last spring, the planners met at my backyard at 415, took photos of my perspective looking towards the sloped backyard of the neighbor. I was then hopeful that changes would be made to the second floor balcony to decrease its size. That would overlook our backyard and house, and our whole backyard looks at this over this hillside. Even though our house is set back and much lower than the shared fence line, our second floor bedroom windows look out and towards the north with views of the mountains past the applicant's backyard. After reviewing the revised plans yesterday, I noticed the addition of other balconies that face applicant's main house that was suggested in the last meeting, but the largest balcony remains to overlook our backyard and home. Perhaps the goal of this balcony is for a peek of the ocean, but in doing so, it would be at the expense of our backyard privacy, and it would eliminate our mountain views. I know the Santa Barbara neighborhood guidelines strongly discourages balconies that overlook neighbors' backyards and homes. We all know that planning in our city is challenging, but homeowners that follow our guidelines will create a better community, as we all want to tread lightly and respect others' space. I understand ADUs are a desired addition to any property to add value, more square footage, housing for renter, family members. If more square footage is desired, then I question why this ADU, to be built on a slope, needs to be 2 stories when the main house is only 1 story. If view is the main goal, then I would suggest planning a much reduced second floor space with balconies that do not face neighbors' backyards. I'll end with some questions. Did this panel get photos of views from my backyard from the planners? Are other detached 2-story ADUs that stand alone, not above a garage, built on properties with the main house as a single story? If this 2-story detached ADU is allowed, then will this be a new precedent to permit other owners to build similar ADUs in their backyard? Can the required open backyard space of 1,250 square feet be reduced to help offset the second floor bulk by adding the second bedroom onto the first level of the ADU? These are just questions that I would have. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do actually have a couple of printouts of some photos, one from my bedroom window, and you can see here you'd have to look at the photo, but I do have views that overlook that property. And this is a photo from my backyard when we had snow in the mountains that would be blocked if we had this 2-story addition.
You can give those to staff.
Yeah, Miss Sherry, actually, if you want to put them, we can do the overhead
Yeah.
camera so that we can see them on the screen. And if City TV can look at those photos. So,
I don't know, I'm looking for,
yeah, City TV, if those just need to be on the screen and they're not currently, if you can shift the photos a little bit, there we go.
oh,
Thank
there
you.
we go.
Thanks.
Where's the other one?
It's kind of hard to see. Right there. It's a bit better.
Thank you. So, should we wait for questions? Or
I think we have more comments.
So that's my second floor
let's just keep these here and we'll go on to, we'll keep doing public comment and we'll get back to this if we have questions.
Okay, next we have Deborah Gibson. If you could please come to the podium.
So I live at 11 Wade Court. My family bought in 1978. We have one of the kind of original tract homes. They're just small. My whole house is 900 square feet, so it's smaller than the ADU. From my backyard, I cannot see the ocean, but I do see like over to where Links Park is, or no, the Douglas Preserve is. And so I have a view basically of just all trees and the mountain area where the Douglas Preserve is. With the ADU where it is with 2 stories, I will not have any view. It will just be all his ADU. So that's distressing to me. And the last time we were at one of these meetings, we talked about, everyone was talking about having it just be one story. And that would be acceptable, I believe, to myself, it would be acceptable, and I think to most of the neighbors, because then it doesn't block anyone's view. But the 2-story one just blocks everything. So then I have no view of Douglas Preserve or the trees, I just lose my entire view. So that's what I would prefer. And also, there was an agreement made between the person who owned that land, and I think Pilar took this down, that on the deed it says that they will never build more than one story on this area where he wants to build the ADU and where his primary residence is. And so I think, Pilar, wasn't that you that checked on the deed?
I can answer this question after
Yeah, go
public
ahead.
comment, or if you'd like me to.
Please.
No, so the condition for the property was just to have a single-story residence and garage. So part of the condition amendment that Planning Commission will be looking at is the accessory dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling units, as you know, can go up to 2 stories. So staff has reviewed that. We can't enforce just not having an ADU on the property. You're allowed to by state law pursue an ADU. Thank you.
Yes, but can it still be 2 stories if it says on the deed that it's only required to be 1 story?
I think what Pilar is saying, that it's going to be determined by Planning Commission and a further review from city staff to get to the bottom of it. And it's not something we can determine today. But thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And next, we have Carol Shaw.
I guess this will be helpful since the screen isn't working. Everybody gets one. And we'll put what this on the screen.
Oh, we've got this email. Okay.
They've got them. Ms. Shaw, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I live at 23 Wade Court. And we looked at first of all, although a lot of changes were made, they weren't substantive because the main requests were to reduce the bulk, the height, and the siting of the 2-story ADU. Or the request for me, I only asked for 6 feet reduction. If you look at the picture, that's where the storyline would be in my house, and those are our picture windows. Those are our only windows that look on to the Douglas Preserve. And if you'd please read my letter, it will completely obliterate all views from the first floor of my primary residence. And I would distinguish between an ADU and a primary residence. I should have put in the history that my predecessor in interest, Chris Polonis, had designed, and these plans are on file, on a larger building. So it's not that there's a history. I mean, I'm on the upper side of the hillside, and it's tiered. And at no point did my neighbor put a privacy screen or made any effort to on his part. So all I am asking for is a reduction in the height to build it at the same grade, the same level as the house, so that it's closer to street level. And also, I think the way that the 2nd-story bedrooms are would reduce the bulk, because at some level, this is not a war between neighbors. This should be, I will accommodate you. And as far as whether Mr. Shirizi received notice, I had no control over that. But you do have control over the future of our neighborhood, and I'm not the only person. You can see the signatories to that whose views are significantly compromised and whose privacy is significantly compromised. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and continuing with public comment, we will now move to virtual comment. I see no hands raised at this time. We did receive letters on this project from Era Harris, Carol and Cameron Shaw on behalf of Debbie Berry, Deborah Gibson, Debbie Oxford, and Leah Doherty. At this time, that closes public comment. I will turn it back over to you, Board Member Sherry.
Thank you. All right. Questions for the board?
First up, are you able to pull up on this screen the comments that were made previously, just so we can see them? And then for the applicants, if you guys can explain the hardships again of why the ADU is not sited on the same level of the house and any considerations for that.
I mean, it cannot be physically set on the same level. You can see the slope behind the current residence already has 7-foot retaining wall directly behind the residence. For us to place it on the same level would result into 25-foot tall retaining walls because of how steep that slope is. So there's just, I mean, it would be extensive amount of grading, and it's completely unfeasible. So, and outside of that, like I mentioned, we have a, very small building envelope that has a currently existing flat area where the ADU is proposed. And of course, we have the open yard on the rear side of it, and you can see the red, oh, you don't see it.
We can see that.
Okay, the red area behind it is basically all the slopes exceeding 30%, so we're backing into that to the most allowable amount and all the way to the page right or north side of the development envelope. And we're trying to basically place the entry door and the bottom level of the ADU at the existing grade, and then tucking the rest of the structure into the slope to reduce the overall mass. So that's how we lost all the windows on on the rear of the properties, because it's completely underground on the first level.
Before you go on to the next question, can I piggyback on?
Yeah, please.
Did you look at, did you ask staff about a possible modification for a reduction in private open yard square footage?
We did not, no.
Did you consider it?
This was not something the client considered.
Oh, you just said, we want to do 2 stories, so it wasn't considered?
Well, the reason for 2-story was to provide him with some privacy, essentially, from the rear property.
Go ahead.
Well, it appears that even if it were 1 story, that it would still provide privacy down to the other area, and with all the landscaping as well. It's also at quite a long distance. Is there any consideration of making it 1 story?
No, and you can see the reason also, it's the way that we placed it is providing the furthest, it's the biggest separation between the main house and the ADU. So the further you move it to the right, where the open yard area, the closer the ADU becomes to the main residence. So we're trying to basically give the most amount of separation between the main house and the ADU, and just build within the existing envelope.
And then question for staff, if you can, I know not all ADUs come before us, if you can summarize the reasons we are reviewing it.
Yes, so there's a few reasons. One, the existing residence is 1 story. They're proposing a 2-story ADU, so that's an automatic requirement to go before the Single Family Design Board. Secondly, they're proposing these exterior decks and balconies, which are not required features of an accessory dwelling unit. So let's say, that they were just going to do a 1 story, but they had, some upper story deck above that, something like that would still warrant design review. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, did you look at other locations for where the stair can be? I know that there's an elevator inside, but the location right now, you go behind a site wall. It's quite a distance to actually walk it, and it's one thing for, the current owner, but even just design in the future.
The rear staircase?
The only staircase,
Right,
but yeah, the fact that it's
no,
in the rear.
there's some steps on grade. So this is honestly supposed to be used in this basically as his escape route. I mean, the intent is for him to use the elevator when he goes to the 2nd floor. So we have to provide emergency escape route. So we located it obviously adjacent to the elevator. It's not really intended to be used everyday use. It's just a point of egress, yeah, essentially required by the building department. But yes, it's pretty inconvenient. I agree with you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, for the rear elevation, you made a comment that most of it is covered, but looking at the rear elevation, it's just a portion of the 1st floor that is covered by the grade. And I understand for privacy, maybe not wanting some windows, but right now the elevation reads as if it were going to butt up against another building. Are there any considerations for detailing or grills or some narrow windows?
I know that it looks pretty bare, but I think that's how we're resolving it with the landscaping. So it's essentially you won't see this bare solid wall.
You're hiding it, but is there anything like either on the building or anything that way?
No, not currently proposed. And the homeowner did not want any windows or doors on that level because, again, privacy concerns from 23 Wade Court.
Okay. And then the sliding doors that go off of the second floor, there on the south side elevation south. You described the use of those two plaza balcony areas and the reason for the large windows and doors.
It's just to kind of expand the indoor space and make it feel more open. Just because on the second floor, he doesn't have any glazing on the rear side. He has just two small windows in the bathroom and one smaller one in the bedroom. So this is basically the only amount of glazing that he gets in his master or in his main bedroom. And on the lower level, it's a pretty dark space being backed into the hill. So this south-facing glazing wall provides the most amount of light access for him.
So were there any considerations in the plan for that view and access to face the main house instead of the neighbor?
You mean on the lower deck?
Either, right now you've got your fireplace, hearth, those bookshelves and everything facing the main house. If that changed in the shared plazas,
I mean, we're trying to put
privacy.
the glazing facing south for obvious reason, and the view obviously towards the Henry's Beach, so that the views from that side of the house. So the decks and the balconies are positioned towards kind of due south.
Indoor, outdoor living.
Yeah.
That's it for now.
Board Member Graffitti?
Yeah, can you go back over the size or the dimensions of the second story deck or balcony?
Which one right there? Okay. It's cumbersome.
So 8'1" and 19 feet 10.
And then can you quickly just scroll? I guess I just wanted to see the plate heights.
It's 9'6" on the lower level and 8'6" on the top level.
Okay.
Sorry, 8 foot, not 8'6". 8 foot on the top and 9'6" on the bottom.
Okay, I see that. Thank you. That's it for now.
All right. Can you pull up the site plan to, I want to see that balconies. Is there anything, what's the proximity of the balcony on the balcony on the upper level to the, is that west?
South.
15, but if that upper balcony, if you took the 15 feet all across the property line, this balcony would, sorry, I'm looking for, is this west? Oh, no, that's not. So
This is
the
south.
south. So the south property line, it looks like that south balcony is within the 15 feet of the property line?
Yes.
Okay. Did any, yeah, probably, I'll save that for comments. All right. Comments?
Actually, one last question. I did want to clarify in one of the images.
We had a question about that, didn't we?
Yeah. Provided
We're wondering where
by.
the, looks like it's covered by the, if you could pull up.
Yeah, if you can locate where the existing one-story house is on this view.
It looks like it might be behind
City
the.
TV, can you please pan to the photos on the desk?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's leave it down for a minute, so,
Okay.
oh, it's right there.
Here.
That's the house, that's the main house.
No, that's the gable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the side of the roof that you can see, and that's the gable. Yeah.
This is the.
Okay. Okay.
So the answer to the question that we had is from the neighbor's
So the
view.
ADU is popping up here.
That height, that's a little aggressive.
Not that high, probably, but.
Yeah, right here, yeah. the
Yeah, we're
top of
way
there.
below the weight court, so.
Can you go to your section again?
And what's this, where's that building?
That's up here.
It's at the line
So
of
this
second.
is up, but it goes like this.
But this is a view taken from the neighbor,
Correct.
yeah. Okay,
Lower than that, but
okay.
yeah.
All right.
We have the section pulled up, too.
Yeah, we have the section.
we can see it.
We can see the section. All right. Any more questions? Okay, no, I'm sorry. We're running late now. It's comments. Who wants to start?
Do you want to start? Oh, yeah, start.
I'll go.
Yeah, I mean, this is concept, so we'll keep it kind of vague, but I think the two-story height and the way that it's placed up right now does feel like it's overpowering the main residence, and the ADU should feel like an accessory. And the way that this is feels like there's another full house. And I think whether you compile different imagery and different views to help understand that it's not, I think would be helpful. And even some understanding of any bit of the grade, any slight reduction there on lowering it down of where the first floor of the ADU fits, I think would go a long way, and not feeling like this ADU is towering over, and even being able to see, say, a street view. I don't think from this view particularly that it's blocking views. I also think it's not in our purview to maintain neighbors' views. It's more privacy concerns. And I do think from there, though, the concern is more the balconies and the size of the second floor balcony, and right up against that property line within the 15 feet, especially given the size of it. I could maybe get behind it being very close if it were smaller, and it was one where just like, but this is a gathering space all within that. Architecturally, I think the rear elevation, I get that we're just going to put plants back there, but feels very hard to support. And then even the rear stair, I understand the owner now, mainly using the elevator, but I would study places where that could go to function as an independent space without the elevator as well. I think materials, you've done a good job trying to match the main house. I would think in further reviews trying to finesse a few of the architectural details, especially like the scale of the grills above the balcony. I think the biggest one for me right now is the overall scale of it in comparison to the main house, especially the height, and the second story balcony, I think are my big kind of things.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, because you articulated very well a lot of what I was thinking. I agree. I have challenges with the second story balcony and just the total volume size. And I know just in general for the size of the ADU and the open yard requirements that you have, and I understand the intention of the owner in balancing privacy and trying to leverage a second story ADU to help regain some of that. I know that I'm not the decision maker on this, but I would be open to supporting like a partial modification for an open yard requirement if it meant being able to bring more of the bulk down to the first story of the ADU. And yeah, right now I guess I'll leave it at that.
On that note, I'm wondering if it would help the overall scale if the second story wasn't as large, but even maybe just having some on the second story and being able to extend a little bit more on the first. And I believe you're able to count, the sloped yard that's in red, some of that as your open yard, correct? I mean, we did on the previous project. So things to consider.
Yeah, I concur with everything that's been said, and I think this is one of those cases where I wish the applicant had maybe thought about a smaller second story and a mod for open yard if it's needed, but Board Member Lewis just mentioned that it probably isn't even required because of the open yard behind the proposed building. So I can certainly understand a second story, wanting a second story and not being able to build on the 30-foot slope area, but it seems like there's an opportunity for an increase in size to the lower level. So I agree with my fellow board members on that aspect. And also the privacy for the balconies, it's generally, I think, just a policy on our end to suggest balconies no closer than 15 feet. And there's certainly, in my opinion, room for some give and take on that. But this one seems like the balcony is really close to that property line. And I am concerned a little bit about privacy there. I think that the height is exacerbated by the 9, did you say 9'6" on the lower level, on the bottom floor? I think that a reduction of that would help tremendously with the scale as perceived from the upper neighbors. Just considering there is concern, even though as Board Member Lewis said, maintaining views are not our purview, but when we see an opportunity to improve that by things such as reduction in plate heights, then it's a good neighborly policy to do that when possible. And I agree with Board Member Lewis that even though there's significant landscaping, and because there's significant landscaping that's going to give the applicant privacy, that a gable window or a gable roof with no window on it and no windows on that elevation is something that you might want to take a look at because of how much privacy the landscape architect is providing. So those are my comments, sir. We're all kind of
In
same.
alignment, yeah. I think too, if the owner's really, well, I would try and find some ways to add some windows to the rear elevation, but even just materially, if there's like some division of what's the first floor to the second, or finding ways to add in some detailing, I think would go a long way. And then I would take a strong look, with civil, if there's any opportunities that aren't excessively expensive to the clients to lower where that first floor sits. Right now, it looks like I think also it would be beneficial for our board to see the existing grade drawn over section 26 so that we can reference what that kind of change is on page A1.2. But it looks like, you've got steps up to your main elevation, and, any little bit of reduction, I think, helps in our argument for the bulk and scale. Yeah, that one. Having a separate dash line that shows where the existing grade is over would help. But see how you've got steps there and just a little bit up, and any sort of bit that can drop down. And like Board Member Sherry said, any little bit in height that can be reduced in the overall height of the ADU can really help us support a 2-story there. It's not very common that we like to see 2-story ADUs when you've got a 1-story house, and that is why we're kind of taking a look. I do think one way to support it is the hillside of the surrounding, thanks. You do already have height in the neighborhood with the grade and topography. You can see that in your section of the neighbor. And so I do think that it is starting to kind of work with that. So there's some argument there, but I think we're all in agreement that some reduction of the second story and being able to add it a little bit more to the first story, I think would be a way for us to support having a second story.
That sounded like the start of a motion.
Yeah. Do you want to make it?
Go ahead.
Okay. My cheat sheet. Okay. Well, I know. Okay, so I will continue this to the Planning Commission. Yeah.
Thank you. Since you did have a number of comments, and generally we do want to forward things when they have positive comments to the Planning Commission, so I'd encourage sending this back. It's your discretion, of course, but to the Single Family Design Board for the applicant to study some of the comments that you mentioned.
And then later go back? Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're talking about potentially another concept review for them to return in response to your comments. And then I know you all summarized pretty detailed comments, but if, in
I'll
your
try to
motion,
do that
just go
again.
through
Okay.
those. So those are included in the motion. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I move to continue the project indefinitely to the full board with the following comments. In general, the board is in support of the architectural language matching the main house and the general square footage of the ADU. However, the board is concerned about the overall size of the uncovered balcony on the second floor, encroaching in our recommended 15-foot setback from the property line. The general scale of that balcony and proximity to the neighbor is of privacy concern. The board recommends studying the square footage on the second story versus first story and recommends reducing the size of the second story to reduce the overall size, bulk, and scale and adding that to the first story. The board recommends studying the rear elevation, adding architectural elements, and highly recommends adding some glazing. Let's see, the board recommends trying to reduce the overall height of the ADU and to consider lowering the finished floor elevation to look at the top height of the roof level of the ADU over the first story. The board can be in support of a second story if the overall appearance of the ADU reduces in size.
Those are my,
So-
that's what I had.
Okay.
Do we have a seconder for the motion?
Sure, I'll second that motion.
Under discussion, I had one item that I didn't hear you say, and it was a possibility of, when you made the statement of possibly reducing the finished floor of the lower level to possibly reduce the plate height of the lower level.
Yes,
Did you add that in there?
let's make sure that that's in there. So in the comment of studying the reduction of the overall ADU height, specifically the board sees easy reduction in the first floor plate height.
Any more discussion items?
Could you add support for reducing the open yard?
Yes, I will add that as well, thank you.
Just in case it's an issue?
If needed, the board is in support of reducing the open yard requirement in order to reduce the size, bulk, and scale of the ADU by extending the first floor into the open yard requirement.
If required.
Required open yard.
If required.
Oh, thank you. Did you get that? Okay.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Oh,
And-
roll call.
And did the seconder
We have a
agree?
I'll accept those modifications, yeah.
Great.
Okay, so we will do roll call. Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. If we need those or not. And this one too. All right, moving on to item number 3. We are way behind.
No, that clock's wrong. I freaked out too.
Oh, I was like, how did we get an hour behind?
I know.
We're 8 minutes behind.
Are you okay with me keeping these for the record?
I can send it. I'm confused. I did not get
okay.
the previously submitted written
I just wanted to make sure.
from that item.
No. Take care. Yeah.
Was that said? I read it was during the meeting. Yeah, same. Agreed. I read the packet, but I didn't. That doesn't mean I didn't belong. 'Cause I got
Okay,
stuff from Sebastian today,
we're
so-
actually waiting for a quorum, so we'll take a few minute recess while we're waiting for a quorum. Mhm. Family Design Board for November 6th with item number 3, 3635 Santa Maria Lane. This is a proposal to demolish the existing 1,124 square foot, single-story, single-unit residence and construct a new 2,013 square foot, single-story, single-unit residence and a new 424 square foot attached garage. The existing permitted 375 square foot accessory dwelling unit will remain and is not under our purview. A magnolia tree located in the rear of the parcel is proposed for removal and under our purview. The proposed total of 2,812 square feet of development on a 9,524 square foot lot is 75% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio.
79%,
I know.
just for the record.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, what did I say?
75.
Oh, it's 75?
79.
Oh, it's 70, I said 75, sorry. And final approval is requested. Project plans require substantial conformance to the plans that received project design approval on September 25th, and the project was last reviewed on September 25th. Yeah, and your name for the record?
Brad Hodges. Okay, let's see. I think I can talk up most of this on one page. Well, first of all, the arborist report is here. The arborist evaluated the tree. He said it's actually healthy, it's just awkward. But he recommended its removal for 2 reasons. The critical root zone is going to get impacted by the construction. And it's going to be a very large tree. It's really kind of a misplaced tree in that yard as it is. It's going to get enormous, and as he just said, it's not really the right tree in that little yard. Okay,
Can you
so.
see that letter?
Oh, I thought you did. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so. I don't know if you want to read along and tell me when to page.
And maybe I should have suggested this before, but in an effort to conserve time, because we've seen this project several times before, do you want to just go over the comments from the last meeting, or do you want to make a completely new presentation?
No, I think there's 4 things I needed to
Yeah,
address.
do you happen to have that on the computer
Yeah,
that
it
we
would
can
be-
pull up?
it would
or
be good to
pull up
see
on this
the-
one?
So I can show.
They were the minutes that we just approved.
Show on
That's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just, I think that because we've seen this project so many times that we were kind of
And then we can just
pumping in
go one
on-
item by item, if that works for you.
Okay.
So, do you mind zooming in a little bit more on that? Okay.
Okay, so yeah, those are the 4 conditions. So, we lowered the plate heights to 8 feet on the east side, 8'9" on the west side. And I think we went over this the last meeting, but the ridge line is offset 3 feet to one side, and that kicks up the plate height on the west side to 9 inches above the east side.
Can you show us that on your presentation? Basically, what we'd like is if you follow the minutes from the last meeting and then illustrate how you've addressed them in your presentation, would be easier.
Okay, I think this one shows the new plate heights. Now, we also changed the garage.
Sorry, can we be referencing on this side while he's talking the minutes?
We can't do that.
Okay, we have to
That's all
stay
right.
on this.
Yeah, so
Okay.
my screen would reflect what's up there, his screen is now reflecting what's up there. We can't have both at
Okay.
the same time.
Got it.
It's all right,
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
we'll figure it out as we
Okay.
go. Okay.
Okay, so you can see the, I guess you can't see it unless I zoom in, huh?
So Holly, can you read us again the first statement, though?
Yeah. Comment 1, condition that either the finished grade at the front be brought up to within or at 6 inches of finished floor height, and or the plate height be reduced to a standard 8-foot plate height.
Okay. So we see that the 8-foot plate height is what was chosen.
Yeah, so,
Across here.
now,
Okay.
8 foot on one side. We got it as low as we could, 8 on one, 8, 9 on
It's
the.
even.
We
Yeah,
understand.
that's fine. Mhm.
Comment 2,
Comment 2, if you can read it.
condition that an arborist report be required for the magnolia tree at the rear.
And you showed us that.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 3?
Condition to eliminate the fireplace or to extend the chimney above the roof.
And we see that here.
Okay.
Okay.
4, condition that any exterior lighting be included when the applicant returns to the board. The board is looking for specifications for exterior lights and a lighting plan of the locations. The board encourages the applicant to read the city requirements for exterior lighting, especially specific night sky compliance. This applies to landscape and exterior lighting on the residence.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I forget which one of these has the landscaping lights on it. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. So, the lighting, oops. So the lighting is, what's required by code, a light outside each entrance. Those are indicated. There's going to be 3 overhead lights, but that's not in the landscape because that's part of the construction. But there's, under here will be 3
downlights.
overheads.
Okay.
These steps will have little strip lights embedded underneath for a floating look.
Okay.
And then there will be 3 path lights along the side of the garage, embedded into the wall of the garage, or attached to the garage to eliminate this pathway down here. So there's going to be a light here, a light here. I think she's got one there too. And then there should be a light outside of this.
Which one
door.
is that? Where's the spec for that?
Okay, these are the uplights for the way back here. This is the light for along this pathway here. And I don't know where the rest of it is. Where's the rest of it?
There's a lighting plan, right?
Huh?
There's a lighting sheet.
Oh, separate lighting sheet? I remember seeing it, but I don't know where it is now. Do you,
On E3, so page 31.
I'm not seeing page numbers.
That's the one in the back. then.
You're on page 12, 17, there you go.
Advanced.
You can use the bar on the right, too.
Where, I'm not seeing the page, the actual,
Yeah, we're at the top, it says 27 of 37, so if you
Oh,
go
there it
down
is,
just a
okay.
few more to 31.
Next page.
There you go.
there we go.
And then it's up on the top left of the sheet.
Okay, those, are yeah, there was the light for the exterior outside the,
We saw it for a second and it disappeared.
yeah. This is,
If I try to pull it up for you.
yeah, if you can. Oh, that was a great help.
Perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's the fixtures that will go outside, the required code for right outside the door. That one up there is the little path light. And there was another page, I don't know if it's on this page or not. It had oh, there's the downlights for the, underneath the fascia, underneath the exterior soffit.
And the step light,
Yeah, the step light was,
that was where?
it was a little,
Oh, no, never mind.
No, I just didn't see the step light.
It's the same one if we go, it's the same one, I think, right?
Yeah, it looks like they're specified on the sheet that they're the same, yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
All right, do you want to keep going with your presentation now that all the comments have been addressed?
Yeah, was that the last comment?
Number 5 was the neighborhood preservation ordinance, so no action items
Got it.
associated
Okay.
with that.
Perfect.
okay, so I think, so.
All right.
Oh, was the fireplace the fireplace, but not the material, but, yeah, I think it was just the fireplace. You wanted the fireplace extended, and I don't think you wanted a natural material on the exterior. And,
We saw it, and it's brick, and you extended it above the roof.
right, it's I wouldn't call it brick, it's
The
it's like a
ledger
ledger
stone.
Oh, okay.
It's a common ledger stone. The other, I actually ran into one of the other board members when I was picking it out, and she saw it. I was disappointed she's not here, because I get to say, you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. But it's pretty common, matte gray, ledger stone, it's nice.
All right, do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. Public comment.
Thank you, Board Member Sherry. At this time, I'll start the in-person public comment. I do not have any slips, nor is there anyone in the audience, so I will turn to virtual comment. I have no hands raised for virtual comment. We did receive a written letter from Judy Williams and Gordon Brewer. And at that ends public comment. I'll turn it back to you, Board Member Sherry.
Thank you. Okay, questions from the board? Any questions?
Let's see.
Go ahead, Board Member Graffiti.
Yeah, sorry. Can you go ahead? Let me gather my thoughts for a second.
The only question is if you've been in contact with your neighbor who submitted a message. That was Judy Williams and Gordon Brewer. And
I was unaware of.
Okay. I'll piggyback a comment that I think they are just, if you happen to have any perspective images, I think it would be good to talk with your neighbor and let them see them. But I think they're just having a hard time understanding the drawings. But I don't think we're at a point here where we would need to go back due to any of their comments. So.
Yeah, I don't know which neighbor that is.
Oh, got it. They're at 3615.
36.
Gordon Brewer and Judy Brewer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I could
That's
reach
fair.
out to them. I do have some 3D renderings of the house. They're not
Just for
photorealistic.
relations, that's okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, additional questions?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make sure I had fully read all of the written public comments that were submitted prior. The one question I guess we just have is, there was an uplighting in the backyard landscaping pictured on an earlier slide. Is that still part of the lighting plan?
Yeah, there's 3 low-voltage uplights back on a slope, uplighting a single oak tree that's centered at the back of the property.
Okay. I think that's it for my questions. Thank you.
So my question is piggybacked onto that. You might want to check that that meets,
Yeah, it's not.
Our guidelines.
What do they call it? Night safe or?
yeah.
Yeah, it's certified.
I think it should be, we'll pick that up in comments maybe. But I don't have any questions, so comments?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. We're done. All right, is anybody prepared to make a motion on this project? This is for final approval.
Yeah, I move to grant final approval. The project plans are in conformance to the plans we reviewed and the comments made on the September 25th meeting. And reviewing the arborist report in support of removing the tree, given their recommendation. And want to recommend making sure that the lighting meets the city ordinances.
Yeah, I thought it did.
Just, it's just going to be written in there for you to double check, or
Yeah.
otherwise it'll come up when you submit, so. Second,
Yeah, I'll second that.
any discussion items? Yeah, we just wanted to. What? We just wanted to make that comment that the applicant to confirm that the tree lighting is, uplit lighting is dark sky compliant. Okay, roll call.
Okay, Board Member Graffiti?
Yes.
Board Member Lewis?
Yes.
Board Member Sherry?
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you, Will. Motion passes.
There's
And
a
now,
10-day appeal period.
And there's a 10-day appeal period for final approval, and thank you for your patience. And
And all the work.
I thought I had it rough until I saw those previous 2 sessions. I was like,
and
God, it
and
could
then
get worse.
I'd like to adjourn the November 6th Single Family Design Board full board agenda. Thank you.